Hi there! Do you wonder how to get to the Arctic Circle? Do you want to know what kind of highlights and beautiful scenes and wildlife can be found on the Alaska Highway? Do you wonder how I can keep my cool with all these mosquitoes? Then you came to the right place. We're gonna drive the Alaska Highway from mile 0 in Dawson Creek all the way to the Arctic Circle. My name is Bastiaan Bakker and this is the world at your feet. Welcome to the Alaskan Highway! In our last episodes, we departed from Dawson Creek and headed towards the Arctic Circle. Along the way, we encountered a lot of beautiful sceneries and plenty of wildlife. We made a pit stop in Whitehorse where we stayed for a few days and did some amazing tours. So make sure to check those out if you haven't yet. I will leave a link in the description. We're all filled up, relaxed out and ready to hit the road again. So we're back on the Alaskan Highway and today we've got a very long day ahead with 622 kilometers for us to get to Tok in Alaska. That's including the border. So if you look at the map, I hope you can see it. Right now we're in Whitehorse and we want to get up to this point, Tok in Alaska. So there's two routes we can take. There is a northern route that goes to Dawson City, which of course has a lot of highlights and is the place of the gold digging area. The other route is the southern route, going through Haines Junction and getting us to Tok in one driving day. This route is also shorter. We're gonna drive a very long driving day, which includes a border run right over there, ending our day in Tok, Alaska. And then we're really close to our starting point. And on the way back, we're gonna take the northern route through Dawson City and then come back to Whitehorse. For now, back to the car. So without further ado, up and away, and let's hit the road. For those that know me a bit longer, I cannot resist exploring abandoned places. So, let's check it out. Second border on this trip has been a smashing success and quicker than the bathroom pit stop. Now show your passport, make sure you get your paperwork and you're on your merry way. Alright, so here's your bump in the road, pun intended. We entered the US on a ESTA. An ESTA is valid for 2 years. In those 2 years, we can come here and go for 3 months. However, the time we spent in Canada, which was roughly 4 weeks, 5 weeks, maybe 6, they count into our US visa time. So we just discovered at the border that my visa expires in 4 weeks, which means that in 4 weeks we need to be out of Alaska. So for us to reset those 3 months in the States, we have 2 options. Oh, actually we have 3. Option number 1 is we apply for a B2 tourist visa, or we buy a plane ticket and fly out of North America and fly back in, also resets that. But so what we're gonna do when we get to Vancouver is to check if we can get some cheap flights. Sometimes you get cheap flights and get a reset. The third option is to overstay or welcome. That's not an option, but this is a little hiccup, and in the worst case scenario this is gonna cost us a lot of money that we didn't really count for or plan for. I'll get back to you on this subject as soon as we know what we're gonna do. So stay tuned for that. And with that being said, welcome to Alaska! I think we got another 140 kilometers to Tok, and that's our day. I'll see you back in the car tomorrow morning. Ciao for now. Welcome to Tok. Yesterday we decided not to go to Tok itself. We parked our car at an RV parking space just outside of town, nice and quiet, next to the river. And the good thing about traveling is that you meet a lot of nice and interesting people. And yesterday we met a very nice couple. They went to do a lot of fishing and they caught a lot of salmon. So they had their car stuck with fish, and therefore we got a free salmon. Now this really makes my day. I love salmon, and this is not from the store. This is caught. So I'm gonna be very happy, and of course we're gonna show you the preparations of that, and that's really great. So thank you so much for that. Second thing I want to mention, that right now we're at the visitor center of Tok, and if you come here I would really highly suggest you make a pit stop here, because this visitor center really has a beautiful display all about the history of building the Alaskan Highway, local wildlife display. There is a story of the history and the natives of the area and the region. So it's really interesting to go and have a look, check it out, and see for yourself. It's really worth your time. So we got another 330 kilometers left before we get to Fairbanks, which will run us about 4 hours roughly. And that is our final pit stop before we get to the Arctic Circle, which is our starting point of our Pan-American Highway. Hi, good morning and welcome, or at least it's good morning for us. Last night we boondocked a little bit outside of Fairbanks. Today's a very exciting day for several reasons, because today we're gonna go to the Arctic Circle, which marks the end of this trip that we started in Dawson Creek. It marks the end of this road trip that we started 6 weeks ago in Florida, and it marks the beginning of our Pan-American Highway adventure. So it's a really exciting day. Before we're going to start, a couple of things. It's a rough 300 kilometers from Fairbanks to the Arctic Circle. And it's important to know there's no gas station in between those two places. You have to go a bit further after Arctic Circle to get to gas station. Make sure on these roads that you always fill up the gas when you see a gas station. Don't take the risk. A lot of the times you will see signs on the way that will say next gas station so many 100 kilometers. It's also important that you always have a spare gas can in your car in case that you are running out of gas. Welcome to the famous or infamous Dalton Highway, gateway to the Arctic. I say famous because, well, it's famous, it's the gateway to the Arctic, and infamous for many reasons, mainly because the road condition, as you probably already seen on our way here, is not the best. Also, this is the road to Prudhoe Bay, which is an oil field, so there's nothing there but trucks coming up and down, and they think people like us are more in the way because we have nothing to do there, just to sightsee. So they drive fast, and then those little gravel stones, they might add up on your window, so it's not really a forgiving road. But if you see here, Fairbanks where we started, and all the way up there, Prudhoe Bay, and then somewhere in the middle, our goal, the Arctic Circle. So this is a milestone, and of course if you are at one of these milestones you see many stickers. If you cannot come down here, make sure you see us and let us know that you were here and saw our sticker. I'm gonna place this one on the post right there, and then we're gonna start driving the Dalton Highway. Up and away. And here we finally are, after 6 weeks and 8,000 kilometers from Jacksonville, Florida to the Arctic Circle. Right now we're at this spot, on this imaginary line around the globe. This is the end of our road trip from the Alaskan Highway, but this is also the beginning of our Pan-American Highway adventure, driving all the way from the Arctic Circle to Argentina. But of course that is a story for our next video. Make sure, don't miss out, stay tuned, subscribe, like, hit the join button, because this is gonna be one epic adventure. The making of our videos requires a lot of work and a lot of time, and that's not including shooting the videos or traveling around. So we really need to take breaks in order to do that. So by the time you see this video, we're already long gone. Welcome to Valdez, the edge of the world. Because the only way for us to do that and produce our videos on a weekly basis, we need to work ahead of schedule. However, if you want to see where we are in a live and daily basis, you might want to consider hitting the join button under your video and becoming a member. By becoming a member, you don't only get live updates of where we are, but also early access to our video and access to our entire video library. And by becoming a member, you're not only supporting our journey, you're also becoming a patron and part of this trip. So hit the button now and see which membership package is the best for you. And we also want to thank our current members for supporting our trip. Thank you very much. So officially, to drive the entire Pan-American Highway, we would have to go all the way to Prudhoe Bay, which is an oil field. There's nothing there, just the town of Deadhorse, and of course the merit that you can say you've been there. You can take a tour through the oil field to jump into the Arctic Ocean if you want to do that. And the thing is, it's a 2 or 3 extra days driving, 4 tanks of gas, of which of course there's no gas station. It's a very unforgiving road. If trucks passes by, stones will fly against your window. When it rains, which has happened in the last couple of hours even, it's gonna get muddy and we don't have a 4x4. So even though we decided to go to Prudhoe Bay initially, we got cold feet and cold foot. Unintended. That was actually our intention. We had to come down to cold feet because it was the next gas station after the Arctic Circle and the only way we could fill up our gas and go back to Fairbanks. The decision we made for the safety of our car and other precautions. However, we spoke to several people in this afternoon that actually went all the way to Prudhoe Bay, and for wildlife and nature reasons, they kind of changed their mind. We decided no cold feet in cold foot. We're gonna stay here for the night, and tomorrow we're gonna take you all the way to the start or finish of the Pan American Highway in Deadhorse. So, get ready. So there's one thing I would like to mention: the gas price right now here at Cold Foot, is $7.49. Now that's of course double the money that we have been paying in the last couple of weeks. And understand that if you are the only 2 gas stations in the middle of nowhere, then you're king. You can put any price to it because there is absolutely no way that you're gonna make the trip back without filling up the gas. So unless you bring a couple of gas cans or canisters or jerry cans with spare gas, you're gonna have to prepare yourself to pay this money. Now, normally if you see a gas station that's really expensive, you might think, I'm gonna go and look further. There is no other gas station. So you either gas up here or you're gas up here, because there's no other thing. Take it or leave it, this trip is gonna cost us a little extra time and money, but it's all part of the adventure. And here we are, another day, another adventure. So, all the way to Prudhoe Bay, 381 kilometers on an unpaved road. Unfortunately, it started to rain a couple of hours ago. I'm not a real big fan of that on this road, so it's gonna add to the excitement. Yesterday we met Greg, and we met in the visitor center. Then we met him again at the gas station. It's a small world here. And we had a really nice talk, and then Greg invited us to this camping ground, and he also invited us for dinner. We had this backpacker's meal that you get in a bag and you put hot water in it, you let it sit for 20 minutes, and it's really nice actually. So Greg, thank you very much. And the point being that along your travels you always meet nice and interesting people, and we really spent the entire evening hanging out with Greg. And those are the nice things of these trips, right? The people you meet along the way, and the those little things. Anyway, long day, long trip. Hopefully it's gonna clear up. We're gonna see some wildlife, some nature. So let's find out together on the way to Prudhoe Bay. Up and away. Okay, thank you. Very cold. Oh, not for me. I'd rather have a heater. Looking for a thrill, you found it. I could barely see the road, we missed it. It's really foggy. It's not a great condition. There's a really steep fall down, and this is an avalanche zone. And I thought, oh, in the winter with the snow. But you can't see it right now, but these is very rocky mountains that often will come down as an avalanche, and even the guardrail is nothing for those kind of rocks. Some pieces of the guardrails have been just washed away by rocks and avalanches. We can't see anything, it's raining, the road is bad, I know if we make a wrong turn, it's going to be the last thing we're doing. So yeah, a thrill it is. Exciting adventures from the comfort of your home. That being said, despite the mist, the views are spectacular. So imagine without the mist. And just imagine in the winter, this is going to be slippery, icy, snowy, foggy, rainy, and freaking cold. So the best time of the year is still the summer. And just drive with cautions and always give way to truck drivers. And other than that, it's a cool trip. And finally, we're almost there. And here we are at the end of the road. Welcome to Prudhoe Bay, Deadhorse. So it's been a long ride. We didn't see much wildlife, we didn't see much scenery because of the mist. Despite that, it's been an amazing road and we finally got to Prudhoe Bay. Pun intended. Unfortunately this one only works in English because the road towards Prudhoe Bay wasn't really all that forgiving. However, as we lived in Costa Rica for 4 years, we were not that impressed with all the potholes. You don't really need a 4x4 to get here, but you do want to drive slow. And it's quite funny because we went from a white van in Whitehorse to a dark van in Deadhorse. If you look around, you can see it. So now we're gonna go find a place to sleep. Oh, eat first, rest, and then tomorrow we're gonna start a long-awaited dream and finally drive our Pan-American highway. Before that, of course, I'm gonna put my sticker here somewhere so when you come down here, you can find it. As you can see the forest for the trees, I found a nice place over here to make it more visible. And what better time? We literally got the world at our feet. Now before we leave, there's two things. First of all, we have to fill up the gas. And here's another tip. Coming here is strongly advised to bring some extra gas cans with you just in case. We didn't need them by far, so I still have them full. So before I'm gonna fill up $7.49 per gallon of gas, I'm gonna put the gas in my car that I had with me as spare, as I paid a lot less for this one. One thing we see a lot here on the oil fields are these plugs and charging stations. And then what we also see, I've never seen before, are plugs coming out of the cars or under the headlights. So we asked our dear friend Kim, what the heck? This is so that your car doesn't freeze. So when you plug it in, it keeps the system up so the car doesn't freeze overnight. Here in the Arctic, it's kind of a cool deal. Another thing that's very important before you start doing long trips like this is to make sure your tire pressure is good, especially on bad roads. Those mistakes you'll make only once. So just for the record, it is the 6th of August today. It's a good thing that we came here in the middle middle of the summer, I am freezing my ass off, and I can't express enough how much I hate the fucking cold. So you won't see me here in December. Time for coffee. And we'll be back next week and start the epic Pan-American Highway. So make sure not to miss out.